Every suit of armour began not with metal, but with stone. The primary ingredient? Iron ore. Dug from the earth, it was loaded, crushed and refined in primitive but effective furnaces known as bloomeries. Inside these furnaces, a combination of iron ore and charcoal was heated to staggering temperatures. The charcoal wasn't just fuel, it was essential. It provided the carbon necessary to transform iron into something harder and more resilient. Early medieval steel was inconsistent. Some armour was soft and prone to bending. But by the late medieval period, Europe had developed carbon-controlled steel, a more durable, flexible metal ideal for protective gear. Master armourers often sought out imported metal from Toledo, Spain, or even Damascus. These regions were famed for their finely forged steels, known for their strength and workability. Without the right steel, a knight's armour could buckle under a sword's blow. While blacksmiths made tools and bladesmiths forged weapons, armourers had a singular purpose: to craft the protective exoskeleton of war. Their workshops were marvels of medieval engineering. At the heart was the forge, blazing hot, fed by bellows and charcoal. Nearby, heavy anvils anchored the workspace. Surrounding them were racks of tools, each with a unique purpose. Raising hammers were used to mould metal over curved stakes. Planishing hammers smoothed and thinned the plates. Shears cut raw sheets into shape. Swage blocks helped shape joints and channels with precision. Armourers didn't work alone. It was a guild profession, often passed down through families. The master armourer led the design and final detailing, while apprentices did the heavy hammering, polishing, and fitting. Some workshops were so prestigious that their marks were sought after across kingdoms. And many armourers worked in teams, not just for speed, but because armour wasn't just metal. It was mathematics, anatomy, and art. A single suit of armour could take weeks, or even months to finish, and each one had to fit like a second skin. Once the right steel was ready, it was time to bring it to life. The first step: heat. The steel was placed in the heart of the forge until it glowed a brilliant red-orange, hot enough to be malleable, but not molten. At this temperature, it could be shaped with precision, but only by experienced hands. Using heavy hammers and brute strength, armourers began to hammer the plates into rough shapes. But this was no guesswork. Templates, often made of parchment or wood, were laid out in advance, designed to match the knight's body exactly. After all, armour was no off-the-rack affair. Each piece was shaped for movement and protection, curved to deflect blows and tailored to the knight's unique frame. Two of the most essential techniques were raising and dishing. Raising involved hammering the steel over a rounded stake to create domes, ideal for helmets, pauldrons, and breastplates. Dishing did the opposite, hammering into a concave form to sink the metal into a bowl shape. It was loud, it was hot, it was back-breaking. But slowly, the rough steel became something greater. The iconic knight's armour was always made to order. No two suits were the same. A wealthy knight might travel hundreds of miles just to be fitted by a famous master armourer. Armourers used rivets, small metal pins, to connect overlapping pieces. Some rivets were tight, locking pieces into a solid shape. Others were loose, allowing articulation, the ability to move and pivot. Flexible joints at the elbows, knees, hips, and shoulders were critical. The solution? Floating rivets, sliding rivets, and carefully stitched leather straps, each part allowing controlled motion without sacrificing defence. Chainmail was also integrated for areas that required more mobility, like the underarms and groin. These mail and plate hybrids offered the best of both worlds, flexibility and protection. It's no wonder some suits featured over 1,000 rivets, each placed by hand. One mistake, and a joint could seize, or worse, leave a gap vulnerable to a well-placed sword thrust. These rivets were often hidden, polished smooth, or even shaped like tiny roses in ceremonial armour, functional engineering disguised as art. Next came polishing. Using abrasive stones, pastes, and even powdered pumice, armourers and apprentices spent hours removing hammer marks and forging scars, turning dull grey steel into a mirror-like finish. Polishing wasn't just for looks. A smooth surface helped deflect blades and was less likely to catch mud or grime in battle. But for many knights, especially the noble and the wealthy, armour also had to dazzle. Etching used wax designs, symbols, heraldry, even animals and religious scenes, etched into steel using mild acid. The acid ate into the exposed metal, leaving intricate, permanent patterns. High-ranking knights took it further, commissioning gilded accents, silver overlays, enamel details, and stamped crests. Their armour shone like trophies. Steel alone doesn't make armour strong. It had to be tested, again and again. To ensure a suit could withstand the chaos of battle, armourers often performed proof testing. This wasn't metaphorical. They literally attacked the armour, striking it with swords, axes, and occasionally even firing arrows or early firearms at it. If the armour withstood the force, the maker would leave a small symbol stamped onto the plate, a proof mark. You'll often find these on the breastplate, where a knight was most vulnerable. These marks weren't decoration. They were a signature of trust, proof that the suit wasn't just beautiful, but battle-ready. Still, strength alone wasn't enough. A full suit had to strike the delicate balance between durability and weight. Most late medieval plate armour weighed between 45 to 60 pounds, no more than the gear of a modern firefighter or soldier. And so from the raw iron buried deep within the earth, to the roar of the forge, to the last gleaming rivet, a suit of armour was born. In the age of castles and catapults, it wasn't just sword or shield that shaped history. It was the armour, and the masters who made it.